So, welcome to today's podcast video we are releasing, which is Borderlines and Horizons podcast. Today, we have a remarkable guest joining us named Samuel, someone who wants to make a positive impact in the world and is going to talk with me on the topics of productivity, activities, and creativity, and even more. So please give a warm welcome to Samuel, who is a good friend of mine. And in this podcast, we will share some valuable insights on these topics. All right, Sam. So let's start with the podcast. So, higher education, social behavior, and university life. Can you share some tips on how people can balance social life and academic responsibilities? Like some thoughts on that?
I think there are a number of ways that, people can achieve success in both, their academic responsibilities as well as their social life. And trying to find a clear balance um, in both of those aspects is something that is incredibly important, and we should work we should work hard to understand and dedicate our efforts to both, because I think there is an importance that we should place on our academic responsibilities as well as our social life, and dedicating equal time to both and your energies and your efforts is what we should all aspire to do, because we believe in success, and success is something that collective society as a whole believes in. And I think trying to dedicate your efforts in order to achieve success in both those regards is something that should be encouraged and should be applauded, I think.
Wow, that's really good. Now, how do you how do you think that social behavior? What do you think? How important is social behavior?
Social behavior is very important, and we should begin to understand that when it comes to dealing with other people, when it comes to engaging with other people, it's incredibly important. It's incredibly important how we act, how we behave, how the kind of impression that we give people. I think being kind, being pleasant, being empathetic, those are all traits that that should reflect in our behaviors. And a first impression is always important. It is, as society tends to say, we should always treat people as we wish to be treated, and we should treat people with kindness and respect. And social behavior in that regard is incredibly important, because we are giving people an insight into who we are. And that is something that I believe in, and I think should be encouraged more in society as well as, around the world.
Wow. So it's like like building networking, which can support or enhance people's learning experiences, indirectly opening up more opportunities for them to collaborate with each other. That's like
100%. Yes.
wow. Yeah. Okay. So the next one is ranging with productivity and tools. I think this is what everybody is like waiting to hear about.
Yeah,
What
true.
productivity tools or apps have you found most effective for managing like your workload? And yeah.
There are a number of applications and tools that I use when it comes to improving or enhancing my productivity. I tend to use Notion, Notability, even the Notes app, trying to find things that will work for you when it comes to, you know, improving your productivity, engaging with your study material, even planning personal projects. I think working to find tools that help you be efficient and, productive in those areas is something that you know we all should do, and it really it puts us in the right headspace to achieve our goals and our ambitions. And I think we should all work together to find our own specific niche, and that is something I really believe in, and I think should be placed at a forefront to a certain extent.
Mm, yeah. So like using apps like Notion, you're able to organize tasks and projects, you're able to create to-do lists and track progress. Like I use like good notes, and that we can
Mm.
write notes in it, we can organize
Yes,
our notes folders. So indirectly it helps people to stay more productive. Yeah, that's
it
good. That's
does.
really
Yes,
good.
true. Thank you.
So how do you how do you stay organized though with all these assignments and projects, and on top of that, social activities and friendships? Like how do you do it? Like
In the last couple of years, the calendar app has become my best friend in a certain regard because obviously we have so many different events, we have so many different responsibilities and commitments. I find the calendar app most useful in that regard, trying to organize things, trying to schedule things for certain dates, and making sure that not that we just commit to the work that we're doing or these commitments that we have, not that we just commit to it, but we also look those through, because I always believe when you commit to something you should give it your 100%, because it speaks much about a human being, how loyal and how committed they are to their to their efforts and to their activities and to whatever they do in life. And trying to schedule things, trying to make to-do lists, all of those really work for me. And I hope people find their own methods, because there is no one way to do it. There's no one size fits all when it comes to something like this. We should always, try to find what works for us and then just run with it. And that's what I believe, and I hope everybody is able to agree with.
wow. So now let's talk about personal development and social networking. What strategies do you use like to build meaningful connections with your peers, or is it like approach based, or it just happens naturally?
So, when I was younger, I was not the best conversationalist there was, and I had a lot of struggle. I had quite the struggle connecting with people, um, and it was definitely tough. But as I grew older, I realized, connections are important to the human experience, and when it comes to professional development, social development, building meaningful connections is always important. And I think the best way to build those connections is just talking. I think the world would be a much nicer place if people just talked out their issues, or just talked in general. Because, finding good reasons to talk to somebody, to engage with them, that's always the best way of connecting with individuals. You know,
Right.
when it comes to connecting with people, finding common interests is always the best course of action. Finding things that you guys agree on, working to find common ground is always the best. And as I've grown up, I've come to understand that's important, and that's something I really hold dear, and I want people as well to take that on, because you may not be the best conversationalist, you may not be the best speaker, but you should always put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to get outside of your comfort zone, because when you get outside of your comfort zone, that's when the most change happens and the best change happens. So I think that's something that we should all aspire to.
So like engaging in activities and clubs or that align with your interests, which indirectly helps you to meet like-minded people, and then you start to build that connections, right?
Definitely,
Wow.
I think when it
Yeah.
comes to finding common interest, clubs, societies, places where you can really connect with people. You should always seek those places out and you should really go there. You can make the most meaningful connections.
Nice. So let's talk about some activities.
Hmm.
Like like what are some leisure activities that help you relax and recharge? Is it like reading books or yeah?
100%. I really appreciate books. I really, really love reading. I think reading is just one of many things I enjoy doing in my free time because it's it's both fun and educational at the same time. There are very few hobbies. Don't get me wrong, there are very few. I'm not saying there are none, but there are very few hobbies that one can engage with where you're learning something but also being entertained at the same time. You know, you should always try to balance, education with fun because when there's that kind of offset of both, you really find that the most impactful change occurs. And reading books is one of them. I really love writing as well. Writing for me really helps with, getting my thoughts out, really putting my thoughts on paper and making something permanent of something that was just as quick as a thought. Thoughts are fleeting, and when you write it down, when you put it on paper, it almost gives it a sense of permanence, and there's something tangible about it. I really engage with that, and people should really just put themselves out there, find things that engage them, and they are able to enjoy and be educated and stimulate them, and that's all we can really hope for and really look forward to, especially in our downtime.
Can you are there any recommendations for any hobbies or activities that are like easy for people to pick up and enjoyable? Is it like art or music, or which one do you think is easy to pick up and be more enjoyable?
I think when it comes to finding hobbies that are relatively easy, especially for people who don't find themselves having many hobbies, I think obviously reading is a great one of them. You know, watching movies it's not so much a hobby as it is a leisure activity, but learning about watching movies and then learning about the background, how it was made, how it was produced, the actors, historical context, things like that, really are really a great way to use time and understand more about things that were simply entertaining before, but just it gives it a sense of education, and it obviously teaches people things. And trying to find hobbies like that could really benefit you. Not even if you're even once you go back to your workplace or back to university or college, you'll find yourself more rejuvenated after engaging with your hobbies, and it gives you a sort of brain refresh, and you'll find yourself being a lot more efficient and a lot more productive at your workplaces or at university because you spent your downtime doing something that stimulated your mind, and um, it gives you a sort of boost to want to engage with the more serious work, with the more hard work, and that's something that's always beneficial to anybody who wants to engage in that sort of thing.
Right. Like it could be like for some people, drawing, gardening, learning a musical instrument. These can be very fulfilling for each individual. So
100%.
these, yeah, so like these activities like also helps to develop new skills. So talking about skills and hobbies, how do you make time? Like, how do you think people should make time for their hobbies? Like when they're going to university and having that university schedule and all.
There are different ways that people, find time for their hobbies, and when it comes to you know allocating time is always it's a common belief that time can be made. If someone wants something so badly, they can make time for it. And I think just staying committed to whatever it is you're doing, whatever your hobbies are, I think even if time seems like it's limited, I think trying to make the time for certain things is always important, especially if you feel strongly about something and if you feel as though you're committed to doing it. I think making the time to to engage with your hobbies is something that people should do, and dedicate your efforts as well to your hobbies, because when you dedicate your efforts to your whatever you're committed to, you'll find the best results. And I think that's important for all of us.
Wow. What do you think about like how engaging creative pursuits can like boost up or foster communication and collaboration skills? Like through art, people can express ideas, but at the same time they're using their creativity. But on top of that, they're also enhancing their communication skills. Where do you see the relation in that?
There definitely is a correlation between, creative pursuits and improved communication and, collaboration, because you are working with like-minded people, you're bouncing ideas off of one another, you are really working together to accomplish common goals. And as time goes on and as time progresses, you'll really find yourself being more open with the people around you, regardless of whether they're doing the same things as you. Because when it comes to working with other like-minded people, there's always common ground. And you'll find that the more you engage with those hobbies, the more likely it is that you're going to take those skills and take those traits that you've acquired and apply it in other other aspects of your life. And that is wonderful, and I think everybody should dedicate their time to something that improves their communication and collaboration with other like-minded individuals, even in their daily lives.
Wow, right, that's pretty cool. So, tips for people who want to make a smooth transition from high school to university. What do you think they should, communicate more or develop their personal skills? How would that smooth transition take place for them?
That's a wonderful question. I think when it comes to high school and university, they're obviously two incredibly different ballparks. When, high school is a pretty controlled environment. You have teachers who are looking out for you, you've got your friends by your side. Everybody is learning pretty much the same thing for most of their academic lives. When it comes to university, it's a completely different arena. And obviously there are similarities between the two, but university is not as controlled as high school was. And really developing yourself, developing your skills, be it creative or professional skills, those can really help. Always being prepared is a good thing, and I think really taking the time to improve your skills and the way you work, your work ethic, I think that can really help you succeed in university.
Wow. So now, now the final topic. Let's talk about emerging technologies.
Hmm.
How has technology changed the way that people study and complete assignments, and how do people stay up to date with the latest technological trends and tools?
Hmm. There are a number of ways in which, people can stay updated and,
Like
really,
tech blogs, right? Like that
yes,
tech
that's
newsletter,
a wonderful way. Yes, tech blogs is really,
online forum, webinars, workshops, right?
yes, I think really finding places where you can learn the most about technology and, you know, science and things that are really rapidly developing is a wonderful way to, stay updated and stay relevant. Uh, obviously, in this day and age, there is much more technology. Say, if we're looking back to the last, even relatively, even the last 20 years, technology has come so far, and there are so many more things now. It can be daunting. And, trying to find places to learn the most about technology, to understand what technology is. I think that's really important. Obviously, technology is important, and it's important to professional development. You know, trying things, just trying whatever is at your fingertips, I think that will really take you far, because the willingness to try anything, regardless whether it's technology or not, really helps you and really benefits you. So trying whatever's at your disposal, you know, going on different websites, really researching, studying about things that really fascinate you and interest you can really help and really, you know, set you up for success in the future. And I think that's important.
Wow, that's really good. Like technology, like people can use technology to make studying more efficient. Like we have discussed about digital note-taking apps and using Notion, GoodNotes, online resources. These can all help streamline people's workflow. So yeah, that was really good insights. Wow.
Yes,
Um,
wonderful.
right. I think that's it for today's podcast. Hope you all have enjoyed this podcast. And thanks, Sam, once
Thank you,
again
mate.
for
Thank you for having me.
joining the podcast. And yeah, I think that's it. All right. Bye, guys.